If you missed yesterday, I'm doing something new just for this month since I'm joined by my cohort in crime, Criff.
Hello.
My other half on the Bard and Criff vlog channel that is actually out now with Bard and Criff Try Moxie, and we should have our Royal Rumble predictions up by now. So yeah, massive spoilers. We're talking book spoilers, comic spoilers,
Possible movie spoilers depending on where it starts and ends.
Roland Deschain, under the name Will Dearborn, speaks with Susan for a bit as they walk together into town. Though he lets her onto his horse to walk around for a little bit, because she points out the oil patch known as Sitco, and then he hears the Thinny. A Thinny, technically.
A Thinny, because there's more than one.
Which is just a dimensional weirdness. So, they get done talking. He finds out she's going to be sort of married. Not married, it's just she's a broodmare.
It's the most tactful way to describe it.
She's gonna be a baby maker. And they kiss. Because clearly the romance in this is just about, and then they kiss, and then Roland has a boner. They kiss, Roland has a boner. She's crying, Roland gets to bang her.
We'll get to that one shortly.
But they'll have to pretend they don't know each other at the mayor's house when they run into each other. Over in the Far Lands, or wherever John Farson is, Martin teleports in through a magical door he drew 2 issues ago. At the
issues
first
ago.
one. And then Farson and Martin talk.
Hold on. An interesting concept.
If you are a Patreon sponsor, you heard the uncut one, and you probably heard him go into a wicked long
It's not really that long. I could have done a lot more. I'm keeping myself very abridged.
So anyways, Farson and Martin talk about supplying him with oil from Sitco from Hambry, which is where they're heading.
And I hope you enjoyed this brief cameo of Martin, because that's the only time you're going to see him.
Screw that, Roland and his friends are finally officially announcing themselves in Hambry to the mayor. But while the mayor just introduces everybody, Roland sees Susan and does that creepy stare across the room that every guy thinks is saying, "How you doing?" But actually says, "Let me wear your skin." Either way, only Elaine and Cuthbert notice. Well, them and Eldred Jonas, the failed gunslinger who's kind of the main antagonist of this story.
And the part we kind of glossed over is the reason why this whole thing is happening is because John Farson wants to eliminate the last of the gunslingers so that the Crimson King can rule by himself without anyone opposing him, and he has raised an army to take down all of the gunslingers.
And then there's the reveal that Susan is meant to screw the mayor to give him an heir for money, which Roland takes as your standard rom-com. Though with discretion, I mean, he doesn't just Moulin Rouge it, I must pay my whore.
The thing of it is, it wasn't even Susan's choice. Because she's still not of age, her aunt made the decision for her because times have been tough ever since Susan's father, Pat Delgado, died due to a horse stampede.
Oh, you can't see the air quotes. Well,
No,
technically...
he got trampled by horses.
Okay, yes.
His actual cause of death was trampled by horses. Now, we don't know if there was any foul play to cause the horses to trample him. I think there was still a shoe lodged in his mouth by the time they had gotten him up off the ground.
So later at the local saloon, De Pape, one of the big coffin hunters...
See, I always read that as like a French name, as like De Pepe.
Dude, it's De Pape. It's a Western. Although if you look at the book, it looks nothing like a Western. Well, they got guns. Anyways.
I mean, but you look at De Pape in the actual, artwork.
He has a weird snootiness that, like...
He does. He has, with the weird glasses and the fucked up hair, he seems like he'd be the one to pronounce it De Pape. He seemed like he'd have that heightened sense of self, that inflated ego.
Point is, I'm gonna call it De Pape. Jacques Lapidieu! Anyone who got the producer joke, mazel tov. So anyways, De Pape, one of the big coffin hunters, an all-around uncut bag of dicks, tries to be a dick but trips over Shimi, the mentally handicapped bar boy. So he's about to make Shimi lick his boots clean.
By the way, Shimi was carrying
drinks.
Old, nasty, out.
Oh, right, that was the...
dregs of beer. Like mugs with just dregs in them. That have probably had, like, tobacco spit and other things put into them as well. That's why he was going to make Shimi lick his boots clean, because he spilled them all over them.
I'm so sorry, I'm trying to keep this abridged so we're not 20 minutes.
We're not going to be 20 minutes after editing.
But anyways, Cuthbert comes in. He simply cannot allow that. De Pape draws his gun on Cuthbert, but Cuthbert shoots De Pape's gun out of his hand with the mighty slingshot.
And steel balls.
He does have balls of steel.
They're what he fired us out in the mighty slingshot. Dead rook skull around his neck.
And he keeps his slingshot trained on DePape. Reynolds, the big coffin hunter we mentioned earlier, who is a slightly bigger bag of dicks than DePape, I think.
He definitely is, but he's also more of a...
all-around dick, more than a...
He's not the high and mighty kind of dick that DePape is. He just realizes he has power and flaunts it. He knows he can shoot anyone in this town and no one can touch him. So he takes what he wants, when he wants, how he wants.
So he stands with his gun to the back of Cuthbert's head. But if he kills Cuthbert, then the ball flies and kills DePape. Then Elaine puts his knife to the back of Reynolds' neck. Continuing the conga line, Eldridge Jonah has his gun on the back of Elaine's head. And of course, Roland comes out of the shadows with a knife behind Jonas.
In short, we have a Mexican standoff with no Mexicans.
The Meiji... How do you pronounce it?
Meiji.
You pronounce it Meiji?
Meiji.
Okay. The Meiji standoff lasts until the sheriff comes. He makes them shake hands and basically just apologize for causing a ruckus before sending everyone home.
Because small little country town.
Now our hero Katet knows that these people are allies to Farson. So now that, now they know they work for Farson, and now the big coven hunters know that these three boys are not just three rich, but mayhaps gunslingers.
They don't believe they're actual gunslingers because of their age, but believes that they're training. They're gunslingers in training. That this is, their kind of mission to see, hey, can you hide who you really are? Can you prove that you can be trusted enough to go on something like this kind of a stealth, air quote, stealth mission?
And what's funny is that he's right about 2 out of the 3 of them. So issue 4 opens up with Susan meeting with Roland as she rides her horse. They make up for him being a dick at the mayor's house, and they sit to talk, but he actually questions her more about the amount of horses.
So how many horses do you have? How many are purebred? How many are mutant?
Because Roland does trust her, and she seems like a good person, so unlike everyone else who's been lying, oh, well, we've got, only this many.
Right, and he's using her as like a control group to see who else in Meiji that he can still trust, who's telling him the truth, who's lying to him. Just basic intel gathering.
Yeah. And then they kiss. Because that's what they do.
It's better fleshed out in the books.
There's actually chemistry,
Besides the chemistry, you also get inside their heads. You get to hear and think about what he's thinking, what she's thinking, how they view each other, rather than what you can give in this abridged version of the entire story.
But they just kiss and then Ro leaves, while Elaine and Cuthbert are hiding the guns. Basically.
In floorboards.
Elsewhere, DePape goes to a saloon a few towns away, and gets some info about that so-called Will Dearborn and his so-called rich friends. Over with Martin, who changes his face with magic to being Walter of the Black, to talk to Lieutenant Legito.
Legito.
What'd I say?
Legito.
Damn. One of Farson's top guys about the Ambry stuff. And we get to see that he needs oil for a friggin' tank. Actually, I like that. That reveal is better in the comic than I think.
It really is, because in the book, you don't actually see what it is. They just describe what it looks like underneath pretty much a tarp.
Yeah, pretty much all these tanks and, machine guns and everything are just considered, machines of the great old ones.
Yeah,
I want to see Cthulhu driving a tank. But enough of that. Ro, Cuth, and Elaine are going into the Eyebolt Canyon to see the Thinny. And like jackasses, they decide to get close to it. What the hell's over there?
Because, you don't understand something. You don't understand something that's just menacingly hanging in the air. What do? You walk into it. It's the only way to live.
Who knew that a throbbing, pulsating, possibly Shoggoth-infested dimensional thing would be such a weenie? Literally, this thing is just all, come to me, get inside me.
It communicates with them without an actual voice.
It's that thing in the back of your head.
Yeah, it kind of like a mind control-y telepathic thing.
In the comic, you see, it says, come to me.
Right, it gets its own font, its own font style, but...
Whereas in the book itself, it was more like suggestion,
Right.
You would think, okay, I want to go to it.
Right.
Why the hell do I, it's not direct communication, it's, I want to touch it. It's that scene from Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play with you. Good feeling gone. It tries to get Roland to become a part of it, but he shoots it and all three ride off. I don't remember him shooting it.
No, he does shoot at it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can't really shoot something that has a non-corporeal form, but he definitely shoots at it, and that lessens its hold on all three of them.
So maybe that's why they decided to, add the tentacles the way they did in the comic.
To give it that,
that
retreating.
There is something, yeah. So, when, hey, the bird doesn't just disappear, I think I saw something, grab it. They do show something grabbing. But that's kind of where horror and comics become a little...
Yeah. So, anyways.
All three of them are safe and they ride off. They also check out Hanging Rock, where they do find hidden oil tanks that are filled. And elsewhere, Mayor Thorne comes all horny up to Susan. He wants Susan now.
Now, the thing of it is...
Yes, it is rapey, but we'll get into the next issue on what happens.
But the other reason why he can't have her now is because, according to the gynecology physical that she had from Rhea, which is really what it was, the Coos checked the cooter, yes.
Oh, that's what I was trying
Yes, the Coos checked the cooter.
The Coos Cooter checker. That's what I was going for. The Coos Cooter checker. Yes!
So, Rhea told Thorin that he could have her, but he had to wait 3 months' time. He was not to have her until pretty much the end of the...
Harvest Moon
the season,
thing.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, the end of the summer is when he was allowed to have her. Now, that was a totally obligatory thing. It had no real weight, and there was no set reason why she had to wait.
And we'll get to what happens in the next episode of this. So what did you think? I do love the art style, but there is some I dislike some of the layouts or backgrounds they use.
Right. My problem is
sometimes they go over, because I know you dislike...
Well, sometimes they use like a full panel, like a full page.
Yeah.
When a panel would suffice.
My biggest thing is I get the art style. I do a lot of comics that I've seen really bad layouts. That's why it's not so much the I don't want to say layout, but when Susan and Roland meet. In the book, I've always figured Hambry and the world, while it is, weird, it still has that, Western feel. Hambry, I've always pictured as a, prairie town, a standard.
Yeah, yeah.
When Susan and Roland meet, she's on, a 20-foot tall, grinding, gnarly root system.
Yeah, with the giant tree, but that's over by Rhea's house, and people tend to stay away from that.
Yeah, I could, because of the Muty situation.
Yeah. And the other thing that they don't really show too well is what's known as the drop-off, which is where all of the horses that the Delgado farm takes care of, they pretty much graze and roam. It's supposed to be this giant field right below a hill, pretty much. It's a hill overlooking the field below, which is why it's called the drop-off. Not really put into perspective. That's
actually my own, the complaint I would have is that
there's a lot of perspective issues in this one.
A lot of the backgrounds, are... the character models are great, I think. Sometimes coloring can be a little awkward and make, make Cuthbert look so desu.
I think he gets the short end of all of the artwork in all of the books.
He's Bishi Cuthbert. Okay, so anyways, that is all for today. And come back tomorrow where we'll talk about 5 and 6. See ya then, true believers. I don't know why I went with that.